Welcome to Millionaire University, where keeping it real keeps you moving forward. I'm your host, Tara Williams. Baggage. We all have it. When I showed up to the very first business we started, I had it. I obviously had no idea, but it was there. Up until that point, I used to think that whatever I thought in my head had no effect in my life. It was just this mental process happening. And if I thought something, it really didn't matter. It wasn't really doing anything. It was just kind of a random thought. So if I had a bad thought, I kept it to myself, because who wants to hear that? And if it was good and if I was feeling brave or comfortable, I shared it. But most of the time, my inner world was just kept to myself. I was more of I'll show you who I am by what I do, not by what I say, because I don't really want to talk about it and I don't feel like I need to. And that's how I rolled. And it worked for me until it didn't. I want to paint a picture of a woman with a dream. It's this really cool side of me that believes in all the good things possible. And I believe that's truly who I am, but it's not always how I've showed up. But more importantly, I actually want to share how broken I've been. Yay! Doesn't that sound fun? It's not for pity. I don't need that, but thank you. But I've been through some hard things, really hard things. I'm not a natural born entrepreneur. I've been way more shy than I ever would prefer. I've had more fears than I can count. I faced more demons than I would like to admit. I've had more trials than I ever wanted. But there is this part of me that believes no matter what I face, no matter what I've seen, no matter what darkness I've been exposed to, good and light can always come from it. And I speak to that from experience, and that's what we're going to talk about today. If you don't want to hear it and you don't want to talk about some hard things, I'd skip this episode. But it's about to get real. Because baggage doesn't just disappear because you're starting a business. You carry it with you all day, every day. It stays dormant until it's triggered and grows with every repeated event. Until we're brave enough and wise enough to realize, I got to face this thing because it's getting in the way of my super cool life. So let's get to it. At a young age, I experienced some things that have caused lifelong trauma. In second grade, I was walking home after school and I saw one of my friends get hit by a car and pass away. Around that same time, I also experienced sexual abuse on several occasions by what I thought was a kind and trustworthy person. And no, it wasn't in my family. And honestly, I don't want you to even think about the events. I want you to focus on how far a human being can come. Though I tried to block out the passing of my friend and never spoke to anyone about it, I always remembered the image of my friend being hit by a car. And it wasn't until recently that I actually even figured out the abuse I experienced. It was so traumatizing that my brain totally and completely blocked it out. And before studying and learning about this and realizing that this is pretty common, I almost wouldn't have believed that the flashbacks that I was having were real. I don't know exactly why I am the way that I am. We all go through hard things. And there are many other things that have happened in my life. There are genetic things, environmental things, the way we grow up, our culture, the things that we are taught. So the question is, what do we do with all of that? What do we do with the hand that we are dealt? It all comes down to one thing, our thoughts around what we experience in life. This has been my complete experience in a nutshell, overcoming my thoughts about my life. It took some major guts to face the one that I had blocked out so intensely, but I did it. Do you know what thoughts I have now about myself after facing the thing that has scared me the very most? To come through those memories, that darkness, and love life more and the people in it. I don't know how many times I've told Justin, I feel so brave that I'm willing to see this, experience this, remember this, step back into it, face it, overcome it, and change my world. That to me is true empowerment. To know that I can go through experiences and I can always be okay, and not just okay, but happy and wiser and have more love and empathy for others. I've learned the ability to take darkness and turn it into goodness, not on my own, but through the good things that are available to us in this world, and of course, lots of divine guidance. I have a lot more mercy for myself. I used to get so frustrated. Why was Justin so brave? Why was this person doing that? Why was this person achieving that? And why couldn't I? As this baggage would lift off of me, I could see how much I was carrying. And I think back to the younger me, how brave she was to start a business, how brave I was to get married. I didn't have a great perspective on men. How brave I am today talking to you. This is the space I now live in. It's not perfect, but liberated on a daily basis because I'm willing to face myself every single day, no matter what shadows come up. I don't want to be limited by the shadows in my closet. I've done it long enough. Life is meant to expose our weak places. And I'll tell you, I'm not freed because I went back in time and changed any of these situations. I wasn't able to bring my friend back to life, and I wasn't able to go back and save myself from the abuse. Nothing there has changed. My past is still my past. No facts have changed, not a single one. The only thing that has changed are my thoughts and feelings around what happened to me and what that meant in my life. And I was brave enough to feel the feelings I felt from all those thoughts over all those years. That's it. That's all. It feels so messy when you're in the middle of it. But as you come out, you realize that's all you've done. Faced yourself, your thoughts, and all the feelings that have accumulated over all the years of the experience that you've had living your life. And I'm not saying this is easy. I'm just saying that the only way I got here was to be freed from the prison of these experiences by changing the way I saw them. So I have a question for you. What do you think about that scares you, triggers you, weighs you down in the morning? What stops you from making those sales calls, from learning what you need to learn about your business, not getting too bogged down with your business so you quit? Are you willing to face it? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to change and evolve? Are you willing to see yourself honestly? If you are, keep listening and I'll show you how. Now, obviously, I'm not a therapist. This has just been my experience. I do love a good therapist, so if you need one, by all means, get one. EMDR, CBT, there are some amazing therapies out there to help you. Your emotional reservoir and your emotional responses to outer stimuli are one of your greatest assets as a business owner. Do you understand this? Our emotions are what drive us. So it is our responsibility to manage them. I once heard a therapist say that if her clients were to feel their pain, she would lose 70% of her clients. I believe that. We are meant to live life and to feel it. I know our brains love to run away from pain and seek pleasure, but man, there's gold in the pain that we experience in this life. Remember, as an entrepreneur, as you get started and you're expanding your business, you are always up against yourself. Not the world, yourself. It's you against you. Can you get out of your own way? Stop blaming the world around you because it really is you. Yes, you need to see things honestly. Yes, you need to have the hard conversations. Yes, you do not want to bury your head in the sand and avoid things. You want to face things head on. Your life, your business, your home will expose your weaknesses. This is your place of growth. This is the place where people run away if they don't know how to deal with this. Thank heavens that's not you. As an entrepreneur, you live in a gap that if you can abide will make you a lot of money. I call this the I have a thriving business and life. It just hasn't come to fruition yet gap. You know this space. This gap where you believe in something, you're just not fully there yet. But there is tension in this gap and you feel yourself pulled in multiple directions. The crazy thing is that you're literally going to create a business out of your thoughts around it. This is how powerful your thoughts are. We think thoughts. We feel emotion. That emotion affects the actions that we take. The actions that we take affect our results. Our results affect the habits we create, and the habits we create affects the character we develop, and our character determines our life. So guess what that means? You will want to manage your thoughts around that gap with great conviction. I believe in something, but I can't see it exactly right now, and it's not even fully manifested, that gap. You're going to want to get curious about your limiting thoughts. Any thoughts around salespeople, hiring people, making money, taking risks, resolving conflict. You feel me? Your progress in your business will be directly related to how willing you are to face yourself and your situation with new eyes, new thoughts, and in result, new ideas. I mean, it's hard to work when you feel depressed, hopeless, frantic, not motivated, self-conscious, limited. The party cocktail is real. The very first sales rep that we ever had was the hardest sales rep that we have ever had. He worked us pretty good. He got paid way more than he should have. Bonuses he never should have received. He cost us so much money. At least that's what we thought at the time. But we had to change our story on that because hiring sales rep with that belief was way too painful. It was so uncomfortable. So finally, one day we got smart enough to realize the truth, which was the complete opposite. This sales rep had made us so much money. We learned so much. And so from that time until now, we've always told ourselves this sales rep was the best sales rep we could have had at the very beginning of our business because he taught us what to do, what not to do, and how to negotiate. He's made us so much money over the years. And that is a way better story, one that I can really work with, and one that's true. Just a simple flop of a thought has changed our reality and the way we feel and the actions we take. So if you want some daily, simple ways of dealing with these thoughts and that gap, here you go. 2 things to keep in mind. It's important to understand that what you think affects the way you feel. We are driven by our emotions. There are specific chemical reactions around what we think. I'm not saying that emotions are bad. We are meant to really live our lives and really feel it. If you lose someone, it's healthy to mourn. But when those emotions become the negative soup we live in and we don't know why, we've got some work to do. Our emotions really drive us, but they are one of the things we know the least about. Science is learning so much right now about the brain and emotions than we ever have before. So it's incredible what you can learn. And people who are learning from this are becoming more and more empowered every day because they're learning to tackle their thoughts. Remember when we said that 80% of the 60,000 thoughts that we have a day are negative? Do you want that to be you? I don't think so. Okay, the second point is that I want you to remember that human beings are meaning makers. We make meaning out of everything. If a dog runs over to a group of other dogs and that group of dogs runs away, the dog doesn't sit there and say, oh my gosh, I don't think these guys like me. Maybe I don't look good enough. Maybe I'm not cool enough. And he doesn't put his head down and run away. He runs after them. He wouldn't make the meaning that you and I would make as human beings. Humans are very different in this way, and we all know it. We have very nuanced ways of creating our thoughts and our stories around what we've been taught and what we experience. I mean, just the tone in someone's voice can tell us so much. So now that you understand these two caveats, that our thoughts affect how we feel and humans make meaning out of everything, I'm going to show you a really simple way how I work through my thoughts and stories that feel crappy, to put it in a non-PC way. You'll know your version of your story is not a good one if it limits you, if you don't feel empowered by thinking that way. This is not a naive way of doing life. It's a very brave way of doing life. To experience something hard but still believe in the goodness of life, to go through challenges and still believe that you can be who you want to be or do what you want to do or feel the way you want to feel, that's brave. And of course, that's going to take work and action. I'm talking about the foundational pieces of what you think and what you believe. All right, so how do you change a story? First of all, you have to be aware of the story. They say knowing is half the battle. There is a lot of emotion that we have around our stories. And it's hard when you're in a story to take a look at that story and tweak it. We have so much evidence as to why we are right. And it feels so real because we have these thoughts that are creating these emotions and this past baggage combined all together, which makes it all seem so real. And it makes us feel like we are so right. But my experience has been that anytime we think something about another human being that condemns them in any way, it just doesn't work. We may have a lot of good information as to what's toxic or not good or healthy for us. And of course, you don't stay in those situations, but don't stay trapped there because of the way you think about it. There is much to learn and much to talk about how to deal with other people, especially if they're toxic in our lives. But hating them has never helped me whatsoever. If I hate someone or a situation or experience, that's on me. I'm the one who's going to get beat up because of that thought, and I've got to evolve it. Also, the darker story that you create around a situation, I'm sure it's obvious, but that story is going to feel a lot heavier. Like we talked about in previous episodes, when I had such a fear of financial hardship, thinking I would end up on the streets, that's going to feel worse than, oh no, I need to work a little harder so I make sure I can pay the bills. So your thoughts and the depth of them affect the depth of what you feel. The hard part is catching yourself in these stories. They feel so true because the feelings that come from those thoughts feel so true. And if the story limits you, you'll get stuck in this situation, in this category in your life. Just like I was earlier today. This podcast that I'm recording right now, I actually recorded yesterday, but a completely different version. Do you know why? Because I didn't want to talk any more about my weaknesses and struggles. I've done enough of it. But when I woke up this morning, I knew it wasn't right. So I got inspiration while I was in my closet and I asked Justin, I'm like, what do you think? Is this too much? And I had to work out my concerns. The story I was telling myself was that there were these business guys out there thinking, this girl is too emotional. Holy cow, good grief, get her off. I want straight business facts, not this emotional mumbo jumbo. So I had to get that story out so I could talk to you guys today. Because a negative story, a bad seed, never grows a gorgeous tree. That's just how it is. Okay, so now you know you have a story. It doesn't feel good, so you know you want to change it. You want to evolve it. You don't like thinking that way about your business or people that you know or people that are working for you or yourself. So you've decided to evolve it. Hallelujah, good job, let's go. But something that you're going to have to tackle, which is number 2 on the list, is work out the baggage. If you've thought this way for a bit, you probably have some emotions that are backlogged in your system, and you're going to need some ways to release it, to get rid of it. You're going to feel some pain from thinking and doing life in this way. But don't keep yourself there. Sometimes we use our emotions to prove we can't do what we really should be doing because I feel this way. You're meant to feel it so you can clean it out so it's no longer a filter you see life through, so you can feel light and energetic and start to get ideas in that space. Start to get motivation, get the creative wheels flowing, not to hold you back. But it takes a lot of courage to feel what we are feeling. And sometimes we don't even know what we're feeling or where those feelings even came from. Sometimes we just have to stop and go, okay, body, I feel this, let's go. Some of my favorite ways of facing baggage are these, which is kind of funny because it's kind of like saying, these are my favorite ways of getting punched in the face. Exercise has been a lifesaver for me. There's something about moving your body physically that gets emotion working through your body. Sometimes when I feel something and I can't even articulate it, if I get a good workout, it'll start things moving. It's like working out kind of breaks this wall down and everything that is behind it spills out. And I'm able to talk about that, write it out, meditate it, think on it, learn about it. Whatever you can do that's healthy to get that stuff moving. Sometimes things start moving just when you're having fun or you're relaxed or you're just taking a breather or you're having a moment of quiet, stillness. It's like sometimes I just feel numb or sometimes I don't feel great and I just wake up and exercise, just trying to get that wall taken down so I can figure out why it is I'm feeling this way. And once that wall comes down, all the emotion comes from behind it. And then the emotion comes out and then I can have different thoughts and I can figure out how I got there. What got me to this place in my life? What made me so scared of this situation? Oh, I remember when I was young, this happened, which caused me to feel and think this way. No wonder why I thought that, or I was taught this, or this is what I learned, or this is what I knew, or this was the best decision I could make at that time. But I'm older now, wiser, more mature. I'm ready to make a new decision. I don't want to stay feeling this way, but this is really the messy part. Be real, be honest. This is not the time to make everything sound perfect. You're just going to get out all the junk that you've been feeling over all the years or weeks or days, whatever it's been. You're going to have some messy thoughts and some messy emotions come up. The goal is not to take those out on anybody else, but to be brave enough to say and feel them in the way that allows you to let them go. For me, usually I feel something and it takes me a bit to figure out what it is I'm even frustrated with or what it is that's even triggering me. Or sometimes I have a thought and I can feel the reaction going through my body. And so whichever comes first for you, either be willing to feel it and then figure out what the story is, or see the story and then be willing to feel it, or sometimes go back and forth between the two. There really is no perfect way to do it, as long as you're not taking your baggage and hurting someone else. Just remember, hurt people, and we've all been hurt. All right, so you've been brave enough to face and feel your pain. You're now ready to create a new story. I usually can't create this new story or these new thoughts until most of my baggage has been worked out because I'm too emotionally charged to create something new and better. I just have to work out the junk. Or sometimes creating the new story really triggers some of that baggage and I just keep repeating that over and over in my mind, new story, to trigger out that junk. If you're having a hard time taking your thought or your story and flipping it around to a much better situation, much better story, much better truth, find someone you trust to help you see it in a new way. Sometimes someone outside of yourself can really help you see what's really going on. Or get yourself educated. There are a lot of things I felt so limited on in my own mind that I needed help from others who had experience in the category I was struggling with. So I'd read books, listen to podcasts, look for information anywhere that would help me to understand this situation better so I can create new thoughts and a new story around it to support me. I'm always amazed at what I learn and how fast I can learn these days. I think about my ancestors and wonder, how did they survive everything they went through without having access to all the tools that we have today? What you can learn these days is limitless. Okay, last step in overcoming our thoughts and emotions. Now that you've created a new story, you're going to want to invest your time and energy into feeding this new story. If arms of discomfort or waves come in, fill those as you repeat to yourself your new story anytime you need it, your new thoughts that support you. See it in your mind, visualize it, feel it. Remember, like we talked about in episode 7, think bigger than the negative way you are feeling now. What thought can you create that is bigger and better than the negative feelings you're feeling today? Think bigger. Being human requires some grit. Sometimes we're fighting, other times we're submitting. Sometimes we're pushing forward, other times we need to stop and take a breather. We're doing, we're not doing. Don't underestimate the work you're doing emotionally as a business owner. Tell yourself all the time how wise and empowered you're becoming every day. Tell yourself you're getting better and better in your business every single day. Every answer to every question you have is out there, and you'll figure out what you need to make the next best decision. And if you're willing to face yourself, your thoughts, your stories, you will get better at business every single day. And as you do this, over time, you will have no problems because everything that comes your way is only making you better. Only making you more money, only making you happier because everything that happens to you is for your good because you'll get wiser and wiser every day. Your business will expose your weak spots. Hallelujah, we want that. You're an entrepreneur, you're brave and bold, you see what's possible. You don't want to be haunted by fears and limitations. Take them one at a time with mercy and compassion for yourself. They're just stories that get in the way of you getting your to-do list done. Catch the story, fill the baggage, create a new story, and repeat that as often as possible. Live as if it's already there because energetically it will be. Continue to retrain the brain to live in this story of you and your world will be a little better each day. You got this. Go get them, you incredible human beings. Let's go.